How's it, everyone? Welcome to episode 14, I believe, of the Same Old Arsenal USA. You know who I am. Ryan is sneaking in like he's some sort of foot soldier. Rowan's down there in the corner. Stan is below me. And fellas, I'll check in here in a minute. But first, we got to make sure we keep the power on.
West Cork Beard Company make beard oil and beard balm for a strong, healthy, great-looking beard. Handmade from all natural ingredients in Clonakilty, West Cork. Check out their YouTube channel for beard care tips and advice, or catch them online at westcorkbeardcompany.ie.
All right, now that we can keep the lights on for another 2 hours, give or take. Ryan, you get your beer? Ryan, did you get your beer?
I said, yeah.
Wow. I think you were muted because I didn't hear you.
I was. Yeah, you could say that.
What do you got?
So, I guess you could say it's a special occasion. We're kind of shit. Let's be real here. So my beer that I chose is Jim Beam Red Stag IPA, black cherry. It's delicious, and maybe with a splash of Canada Dry. Yeah, we'll see.
This is what Arsenal has done to him.
Yeah. So I know I have a beer, and I apologize to all of my beer enthusiasts, but this is what the team has driven me to. My beer of the day, Red Stag IPA.
They drove me to watch the Phantom Menace on Sunday night. They're driving you to hard liquor. I think you're taking this a lot harder than I am.
I'm peachy, man. I'm peachy.
Rowan, what's news?
Well, another week gone, another performance to dwell about. I mean, not great on an Arsenal front. So yeah, I was waiting to, get this therapy session with all of you guys and everyone in the comments. So I look forward to this one.
Yeah, I'm going to start charging people for this. I think, and we'll split the money because I feel like we're all therapists at this point, not only for each other but everybody in the chat box as well. Stan, yourself, my friend, how are you?
Well, last week alarm bells were ringing. This week it's loud klaxons and sirens.
Yeah, for sure. Man, a few words. What's up, everybody in the chat box? Thanks, everybody, for being here. Do me a favor. We haven't done this in a while. Everybody, give us a shout out yourself, where you're from for us, just so we get an idea of where the audience is all checking in from. I want to shout out Gary, DWTT, moderating everything in the chat box for us. Appreciate you being here, man. I have Ryan up there with little Men in Black. So,
extra large, the movie theater cup.
Yeah, let's. I guess we'll start with the game. We were talking in the makeup room before we came on the air. I don't personally have a whole lot to say about what's going on. It's at this point I feel like I'm a broken record, honestly. We're bad at this point. I think we all know we're bad. So, but we'll dive in. We'll sort of dissect our thoughts on the game a little bit. Stan, I'm going to start with you, and we'll start right at the very beginning. Lineup. Talk to me about the starting 11 and the bench.
The first thing that caught my eye, it was actually the bench. I mean, I looked at the bench and I thought to myself, there's no variety here whatsoever. It was El Neni, Willock, Danny Ceballos, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, and then there was obviously a striker, Eddie Nketiah, and I think a defender, if I'm right. But if you look at the middle of what we had there was just no variety. I don't know if he was injured, but I would have thought at least you had to have Reece Nelson on the bench there to offer something different in wide areas if need be. So that was the first thing that really caught my eye, was the lack of variety that we had on the bench. The lineup, the same faces. It was a slightly different formation. You know, it looked like it was more of a 4-2-3-1, and at times sort of like moving with two up front. But I mean, you know, Willian again is in and around and starting. I don't understand that. I mean, I'm beginning to have a lot of questions about what it is that what this process is that we're doing, where we're heading to, you know. And I have to say that I'm finding it difficult to trust a process that does involve Willian as a constant piece of it, which it seems to be. I wasn't disappointed really at the end of the. Well, I was disappointed, but I wasn't shocked. Going into this game, I didn't expect nothing. I think for the last 3 fixtures, I predicted that we would get maybe 4 points out of the last 3 games. And even when I made that prediction, I thought, am I being a little bit harsh? So to come away with only 1 point from that, I actually feel that we're in a worse place than I originally perhaps anticipated.
Yeah, we're going to kind of circle back to that last statement that you just made here in a few minutes, Rohan. I'll come to you next. And you and I kind of, I don't want to say we butted heads. I don't think we quite agreed on the first goal, on the Heung-min Son goal. Having watched more of it in context, I'm more inclined to agree with you now, although maybe for the sake of viewership, I shouldn't. It should just stick to my original plan so we can argue. No, in all seriousness, any thoughts on the lineup, the bench, anything you want to add to what Stan just said?
My initial thoughts were, okay, I completely echo what Stan has said, but you know, so Willian is a downer. You know, when I see him, you know, I'm just like, okay, why is this guy playing? You know, he's definitely got some dirt on Arteta. You know, that's the reason why he's playing. But I was thinking that, you know, Arteta has pulled a Mourinho by suddenly naming Partey in the lineup. You know, where did that come from? And that got me enthused. You know, maybe we'll take some control of the midfield. I was generally okay with the squad that came out. You know, Lacazette had played well in the Europa League, so he was playing here, which was good. You know, we put out a decentish squad out there. Apart from Willian, I think I agreed with most of it, and of course Xhaka should have been out, and I would have preferred El Neni to be there.
It was giving me a heart attack, Rohan. It was giving me a heart attack.
Yeah. So apart from these two, at the beginning of the game, I wouldn't say I would have changed much more, and the bench, like he said. So starting lineup wise, I thought it was okay. But do you want me to go into the game, or are we doing the?
We'll circle back around. I'll give Ryan, before he gets too liquored here, I'll let him get his 10 minutes of glory out of the way.
10 minutes. No, I mean,
every time when you talk, it feels like 10 minutes.
Well, go.
That has more to do. That has more to do with this. Never mind. I'm just busting your balls, man. You know that.
Yeah. So lineup. I mean, I agree with both of what Stan had said. I saw the lineup. I actually didn't see the bench first. I looked at the lineup and I go, oh, Partey. And then I go, oh, Xhaka. Partey. Xhaka. Partey. Xhaka. And I slowly put the fingers in my mouth because I don't care if Partey's playing, Xhaka's playing. I didn't understand the Xhaka play at all. The Willian, I didn't want him to play, but I understood it against Tottenham. I think what I wanted to see from us was I wanted to be structured. I wanted us to play very defensively because we knew they were going to play us on the counter. So let's just I don't care what Tottenham are going to play. Let's just play very structured, very defensively, and play and go from there. So I saw Xhaka and I was like, okay, like I think that's what he's doing, but he didn't really do that. So that made me even question the Xhaka pick even more. And then when I was wallowing my own pity of despair for the Xhaka, I noticed Reece Nelson wasn't even on the bench. And I was just like, oh, this isn't good. And then I thought of the GIF of from The Simpsons, Ralphie on the bus that says, "I'm in danger," and that's kind of how I felt, leading up to this game, and that's all I have to say about that. Wait, what? My wife has it. Yeah, thanks, Claire.
Big shout out to everybody in the chat box. Thanks for letting us letting us know where you're from. We appreciate it. Also, anything that I put out to these guys, feel free to leave your opinions in there as well. The only thing I'm really going to say on the lineup, and I talked about it last week, I wasn't disappointed because I knew he being Arteta, wasn't going to change the lineup drastically. He wasn't going to do what I was hoping for. So I wasn't overly disappointed, but Partey and Granit Xhaka, and I think I said it after their first game together, they can't play together. Granit Xhaka shouldn't be in the lineup, period, let alone with Thomas Partey. That just didn't make any sense to me. I would have preferred El Neni in for Granit Xhaka, and then when if Partey had gone off with the same injury, then you're kind of stuck, and you bring Granit Xhaka in. So first goal, Heung-min Son. My opinion of it at first was, my opinion of it still is that sometimes you just got to tip your cap to the other team. That was a hell of a goal. The build up to it is where, and I had disagreed with Rohan at first. We were a little back and forth on Twitter about this. Rohan, go ahead and just real quickly kind of tell everybody what you had said about the build up to the goal that I disagreed with you on.
So the shot was a cracker, right? He took that shot from way out, and that was R1 and shoot. If you play FIFA, right? So that's what he did. Perfect shot. You'd clap yourself if you did that, right? But the build up, and this was the larger theme of the game, right? That if any one of us was asked before the game, who's the danger man? Who are the two danger guys in the team in Spurs' attack? All of us knew it was Kane and Son. How has Kane been playing? He's been playing deep. He's been feeding into Son, right? What happened there was we went on the attack and they cleared the ball. The ball went to Kane. The first mistake happened when Gabriel didn't press Kane. He could have pressed Kane because he was by himself, maybe even fouled him, right? It wouldn't have mattered because he was in his own half. You wouldn't have got a yellow, and we could have diffused that situation. But even if he did, what Kane has done in previous matches is taken a quick free kick from that position. What happened there was Gabriel didn't press him enough. He got the turn, and Bellerin at that point on our right side got pulled towards the ball, and he was ball watching. He had his number showing to Son, and you knew at that point that Son was going to be on his bike. There are two players there, are two defenders and a midfielder, three players on Kane. There was no reason for him to get attracted to the ball the way he did, and Son had just ran past him. And by the time our Bellerin realized that Son was on his bike, it was too late. So that whole situation could have been avoided if Bellerin had some brains and he knew his position and he knew the opposition, that what they're going to do, which I knew the time the ball went to Kane. I was like, what's Son? And he ran past him. And by the time he realized, it was too late. The shot was a cracker, but the pass shouldn't have got to Kane in the first place. This was basic tactics, and I'm sure that Arteta would have drilled this into them. But Bellerin, what he lacks is not pace. He's got plenty of pace to burn. What he lacks is brains. That's what he lacks. So that's the problem, and that cost us the first goal, and we were on the back foot since then.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny, and I don't really want to go down this road too much. I want to give, excuse me, Stan and Ryan their say on the goal. But we were talking off the air about Bellerin, and it seems to be a more popular opinion. The closer we get to Sunday, a lot of people are starting to say they want to see Cedric at right back, and this is what I said. about it, Stan. So I'm going to come to you next, and it's going to be twofold. I want you to, what did you see on the goal, real quick, and any other thoughts there? But then also, my take on Bellerin and Cedric. Cedric is more positionally aware than Hector Bellerin is, but I don't think Cedric has the natural talent that Bellerin has. And that's not to say that Bellerin's an overly talented player, but I think he's better than Cedric. But I think, Rohan, and everything you just said, if Cedric were there, I think I'm not saying anything changes. I'm saying I think Cedric's more positionally aware of what's going on around him, and he's not in that position. So I think things would play out a bit differently there. But so Stan, goal, Cedric versus Bellerin. Go ahead.
Or like Glenn has said in the comment, why only Cedric? Why not AMN, who's done a wonderful job at fullback position? So that's all I want to say. And Stan.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Go ahead, Stan.
For me, I've been a big defender of Hector's for most of this season, and there was at one point the player that had the most assists in the squad. And I know that it's a little bit of an indictment about how we're playing, but I think that he's taken a far more criticism this season than I think it's actually due. He can't take a throw in. That is woeful. As I said to someone in the chat yesterday, my missus takes better throw ins and she's a girl. So,
Ew, girls.
But he had a stinker. There's no doubt about it. He had a stinker in the North London derby. But I still think that for the right back position, I think that he's the best that we have at the club. And before you jump on me about Ainsley Maitland-Niles, it's because I think that Ainsley Maitland-Niles should be playing in the middle of the park, not as a right back. Yeah. The only time I want to see Ainsley Maitland-Niles playing as a right back is as a stopgap, because the two choices that we have for that position are both banjacks, and we need to put someone in there. He should be played in the middle of the park. But, Rohan's right. I mean, in that previous game, he's right. For that goal, I mean, Bellerin was doing his best impression of Gollum out of Lord of the Rings. Do you know what I mean? And the football was his precious. He was just transfixed. He was transfixed. And he, as you say, exactly. You show someone like Sonia Number, it's all over.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't got the pace, I don't think, anymore to keep up with Son.
And it's funny too, because
to even get there, let alone keep up with him. So, yeah.
It's funny too, because the way Spurs play, Son always goes on the side of the weakest fullback. He always picks of the two. Out of the two, he always picks a weaker fullback, and he just stays there. So, I mean, what does it say about Bellerin? But yeah, I completely agree. I'd love to see him in the midfield.
But don't get me wrong. Let me just by saying, I'm not saying that we can't upgrade on Hector, but I think for a right back position, playing in a back four, which is what I would like to see us play, I personally think that at the moment, I would still stick with Hector Bellerin, and hopefully he can improve his throw-ins.
Yeah, so the throw-ins are a problem, and I'm hoping that he's been fined his wages, because the stat is out there. I think most of us have seen it. There've been 16 foul throws in the Premier League this season. Bellerin has done 5 of them.
And no
other player has done more than 1. So if he can't do that, those are basics, right? So that shows that his head is not in the game. He's a fashionista. That is how I described him in the game, and that is where his head is at, and that's fine. If you want to sell jerseys, if you want someone to look good in the jerseys, that's fine. But he doesn't have to occupy that spot. And what does this say about our team then? If Cedric is not good enough, that we've just given him a contract. He was on loan here. We gave him a long-term contract. Then why did we give him a contract? There was no point in giving him a contract. And if we've given him a contract, then we have to play him. Or we have to question who's given him that contract. And since Arteta was here, and every decision that is made is attributed to Arteta, for example, and we're not going down there, but our number 10 being out, which I don't think is his decision, but let's just, for the sake of argument, because we said last week, it's Arteta's decision to leave him out. The same way, it's his decision to sign him. to sign Cedric, then why isn't he playing him?
Yeah, I mean, if Hector Bellerin is going through a bad run of form, then rather than struggling on with him, there should be a backup who's ready to step in and take up the slack for a little while. And like Rohan says, we've handed this guy a 4-year deal. He's fit. He shouldn't just be relegated to playing in cup games and in the Europa League. He needs to come into the league, which is our bread and butter, and take up the slack if the right back is having a bit of a bad time at the minute.
So yeah, shout out to Mike to kind of answer your question on why we gave Cedric the extension. Bro was at the helm. He used the club. I don't think it was solely Arteta. And by the way, Mike, my spirit animal, you are, I like to call it a cheetah-roo. You have a top of a kangaroo and the bottom of a cheetah. So you're really fast, but you're ready to fight. You got a 6-pack, and you got mean hands. You got weapons in your hands. You got lethal weapons in your hands. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I can't stand Cedric. I mean, I don't say I can't stand him. I don't think he's good. I don't think he's good enough. I think our extension was just because I think partly we thought like, okay, well, we kind of want to move Arteta. We kind of want to move AMN into the midfield. We need a backup for Bellerin. If this is what we want to do, if we want to move AMN to midfield, he needs a backup. And I also think too, like, Tierney, he at the time when we signed Cedric, he had injury problems. He was known to be out for a little while here and there. So, Cedric was a perfect guy. He could play both sides. And like I said, with AMN moving into midfield, it only made sense. And Cedric is a Kia man. So I think he was kind of persuaded and kind of forced in a way. I think Chambers at right back is his worst position. But with saying that, I think he's still better than Cedric. So good shout from Jessica. But again, he was hurt, ACL. So it's just, we're trying to make the best of what we got. But like, we're not, because this isn't the best. This isn't the best of what we could have done. I think we're just trying to go really cheap and trying to plug holes in the Titanic with like little napkins, little dinner napkins. So and that goes that.
Yeah. Keep playing, boys. Keep playing. Here's the thing with Bellerin. If he doesn't start to improve his form very quickly, I am going to make sure that all 3 of my dogs pee on every single tree they see every time we're out for a walk. So
nowadays, and for some time now, he doesn't have a bad run of form. His run of form is generally bad. He has a few good games in between. That is where Bellerin.
Who are we talking about? Bellerin?
Bellerin.
Okay.
Yeah. Bellerin. I don't think he has a string of good games and then a few bad games. It's the other way around. And I've been a big advocate for Bellerin, and I have. When he burst onto the scenes, I loved it. After that, he got his major injury all of last season. I was, once he came back, I said that he needs time, he needs all of that, but his head is not in the game. Tactically, that is what was wrong. Arteta has been put under pressure because of Bellerin, because there is no way that Arteta could not have told. If I, as an armchair manager, can see what the situation is developing into, Arteta would have told these guys. But you can't coach these people. You can't teach Bellerin to be tactically aware that there's going to be some guy running down. And that's where we had already lost the game. That's the moment where we lost the game.
So it's funny you say that, Rohan, about him not being tactically aware. Something I saw in the beginning of the game, I don't know if you guys, saw it or like really pay much umbrage into this, or the chat for that matter, but when Bellerin when Tierney took a throw in for us, he's telling guys, you move, you go up, you do this, you do, like, I need you guys to move. He's gesturing with his one hand on what to do. Bellerin, he has the ball up, and he's like, this is him, like a deer in the headlights. He doesn't know what to do. And then what does he do? He foul throws it. So again, I don't want to, some people probably don't want to read too much into it, but to me, someone who is a passenger like Bellerin, just looking around, not knowing what to do, players are not moving. And that's the thing too, is the players aren't even helping him out. They're not moving around. They're just standing there, and he's just like, all right, well, I need to know where to throw the ball, so I don't know what to do. And then someone like a Tierney, who to me is not a passenger, one of the very, very few who aren't passengers in this team, is kind of directing traffic, which to me, as someone who throws the ball and growing up playing, yeah, I think that's something you need to do. You need to kind of be like, hey, someone come to me, someone do this, someone be in the back, someone be in the front. And then if all else fails, I go back to my basics. Just throw the ball down the line. Just throw the ball down the line as far as you can. And Bellerin he panics. He's deer in the headlights, he panics. And then on top of that, to piggyback that, he doesn't even throw the ball incorrectly. It's like, what are we doing here?
This is one of those that like throws to me, and I need to qualify what I'm about to say by letting you all know again that I actually have never kicked a ball in my life. Like I have never actually played this sport in an organized fashion.
You tickled them.
What's that? I tickled them? Yeah. This to me, as a bit of an outsider, having not played the game, this to me is the most technically this is trying to reinvent the wheel. This is a situation in a game that has been, in my opinion, completely overthought. Unless you're Kieran Tierney and you're throwing it into the box.
Yeah, what's that all about, though? All of a sudden,
that's what Tierney thrown it into the box. That's a design.
All of a sudden, it's like Kieran Tierney thinks he's Rory Delap.
Since when has Arsenal become? Since when?
The area.
I don't remember what team he played, but he threw the ball in and got an assist. I don't know if he got an assist or a pre-assist.
Oh, he's done it. He's done it for us.
Off a Tierney throw-in last season. I think
he scored since when have we become Stoke?
This is like David Moyes. It's like David Moyes football.
Tierney has a good throw.
He does. I don't hate that. Here's the thing, though. Here's my thing.
I'm sorry. Would you rather have Bellerin take the throws and give the possession away automatically, or do you want at least to try to get a throw in the box?
I tell you what it is, right? The thing is, in fact, to Bellerin,
football
round off in it. I think it's a case of it's just got a bit stale now. He's been at the club for a long time, and it's a bit stale for him, and it's a little bit stale for us. And he could probably do a challenge now at a new club in a new environment, and it will probably be best for all parties.
This is what I wanted to say on the throw-in thing. And I mean this generally speaking. This has nothing to do with Hector Bellerin. I've watched other games where I'm like, throw the fucking ball in already. Guys are standing there and they're like,
what do I do? I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do. And you see guys, and you see the players on the would-be receivers of the ball are like. Meanwhile, what you just saw me doing, the bottom half of my body was doing nothing. And that's literally what they're doing on the field. Their legs aren't moving. They're just moving their neck and their shoulders around, trying to fake somebody out. See, if I'll give you a little shoulder dip there, the defender runs away. He's like, oh, I'm open. This is to me. And again, I haven't played the game, and I know I'm way off base with this. This is one of those things where if I'm the manager, unless, again, like Ryan said, you throw it as far down the touchline as you can, somebody show to the ball and get the fucking ball in play and move on with this. This is stupid. So that's just my take on that's just, and again, I know there's a tactical reason to what's being done. I understand that.
I mean, we hired a set piece coach. So
yeah, right. Right? To me, it's just one of those things where it's like, does this really need to be? Are we really taking time with this? You mean to tell me that this should be as simple as playing catch in the backyard? That's what this should be. Somebody show to the ball, throw them the ball. That's it. I know there's a form and a technique to it that you've got to do it the right way. But for the love of God, somebody come to the ball, get open, and you throw them the ball. That's it. End of. And you know what? If you're trying to get down the field and nobody's open, start over. Toss it into a center back and just start over from there. I mean, how many times do we get into the opposition's half only to stop, turn around, kick the ball backwards again? So what's the difference? Anyway, way. This is what we do here. We're so far off topic at this point with Bellerin and these God.
I would say, can I say one last thing to Bellerin, and it's like,
yeah.
Someone like Hector Bellerin as well. He had an awful. Oh, cheers, stay fresh. Thanks, man. He's the one player in that team. He had a terrible game in the North London derby, but he is the one player who should know exactly what a North London derby means, right? He's got the length of service. He's played in more of them than anybody else. He's probably the one that, leading up to it, should have been, talking to some of our newer arrivals and making them understand how important it was. So I'm really disappointed in that he had such a bad game, but not only did he have a bad game, that particular fixture, because out of everybody, he should have been the one that should have been, trying to pull everybody along with him.
That's the smartest thing I've heard today.
I don't agree because I don't wear underwear. So
there it is. There it is.
What you want to know?
So moving on, Ryan, break down the Kane goal. What'd you see? What'd you think? I'll just give you my opinion on this real quick. I said this on Not Another Arsenal podcast last night. If anybody watched that, great show, by the way. Shout out Mike Hers. Great show. Thanks for having me on, man. Really appreciate that.
Cheateroo, baby. Cheateroo.
My only thing on it, and I actually haven't watched a replay of that goal, so I haven't gone back to watch the buildup of it. So maybe you guys can speak a little bit more intelligently on that than I. My only thing was I kind of thought that Leno should have come out a little further on it, cut down Kane's angle a bit more.
No, come on.
You're going to do the hand?
Stop. I don't want to hear this Leno talk. I don't.
Are you going to do the hand?
No. Hang on. No, wait. You're taking this as I'm blaming him?
No goalie is saving that goal.
No.
Tanner, do the hand. Do the hand.
Yeah.
So your fingers up.
Do the hand. You did it last night. I want to see the hand. And what you did last night.
So here's the point. The reason I think Leno should have come out further is to give Harry Kane less to shoot at. How you can see the pictures behind me from here, right? Now you can't. So the closer you get to someone, the less they have to shoot at. It's that simple. I am not blaming Leno for the goal because I agree with you, Ryan. I don't think any goalie is stopping that, short of the Incredible Hulk, and that's just because he's so big. No, that is a. I absolutely hate giving them credit, but he is, as much as I hate to admit it, a world-class striker. He is one of the best in the world, and that was a world-class goal. I don't think anybody's stopping that, and I don't think Leno stops it even if he does cut down the Kane angle. The only thing I'm saying is if I had to take one thing out of just the shot and the goal, I would have liked to have seen Leno come out a little further again, and the goal and the ball still goes in.
They were hugely helped for us allowing them to come onto us 4v2.
That's the
problem, right? We play in this way where when we get into attacking part of the game, especially in the opposition's half, we're kind of like, if you look at us, we're in like a 5-3-2. There's 5 fanned out the front of the box, and we have usually Kieran Tierney on the very outside, but on the other side, Hector Bellerin is slightly inside with the winger. It's 5-3, and then we're left with 2 at the back. And we tried to make that final pass, and you saw what happened. I can't remember who tried to make that final pass in that move, and the ball got overturned. And then the next thing you know, it was 4-2. And at the same time, for me, Thomas Partey, a player that, especially under someone coming from Atletico Madrid, under Simeone, he made a cardinal sin of walking off the pitch instead of sitting down on the ground. Coming down on the ground and trying to maybe get the play stopped. He just hobbled off the pitch and left. Left the 2 at the back in no man's land.
Forget the Kane goal. Go on that. I want to know what you guys think on the Partey thing.
My thoughts on this. Second goal again was unfortunate because it would have been a 3v3, 3v4 scenario with Partey in there, and I would give us a good chance if Partey was one of the 3 guys to sort of stop their counter attack and not let it build in the way that it did. Agree with Stan that that he shouldn't have come off. He should have just sat there. But again, there's a larger question at play. That was he rushed back into the team then? He did not play a minute before that. When he came from Atletico, he played the week before that, and he didn't play the next game, and he played Europa, and then he was allowed to play in the Premier League. And now he was nursing an injury, and he played this game, the North London derby, against a full-fledged Spurs team, which is in the form of their life. Did Arteta feel the pressure and get him on? And a lot of people will say, "Oh, you were saying in the beginning of the podcast that you were happy to see, Partey play." But I am a fan. I'm not Arteta, or I'm not the physio and all of them. They should have known that he can't play 90 minutes of high octane football. That's where they got it wrong. Again, the players let Arteta down, but Arteta ultimately let himself down by selecting those players. Bellerin for the first goal and Partey for the second goal.
I don't agree with that at all. Partey had to go through several tests, several physios, he had to go through so many people, and I'm sure he himself wanted to play. So many people came around to say, okay, he's going to play. And the thing with his injury, his thigh injury, a muscular injury, they're extremely unpredictable. You don't know how long you're out for. And I've had muscular injuries. The test can come back fine. You could be all rosy and dandy, but you make one false step, you make one false move. You can even ask Greg. You can ask Greg Ramjohn in the chat. I played flag football with him. The amount of times I've tweaked my hamstring playing. Because, I'm good. I took a few weeks off. I'm good. I did everything I was supposed to. I ran a little bit. I even played soccer on it. I was fine. But then I make one crazy go route run, which is like it's a straight line. One crazy sprint, catch the ball. I take a step up a notch, and boom, hamstring goes just like that. Injuries, especially in the thigh, injuries like this, it's very unpredictable. And like I was saying, so many people had to sign off on this. Even Partey himself, who I heard he pushed to play. I heard he was like, I want to play, I have to play. And looking back, if he didn't get hurt, we'd all be like, yeah, whatever. Who gives a shit? He didn't come back too early.
But he did get hurt. And why should he declare himself to be fit? And why are there different standards? When he came to the club, he did not play.
There's a bunch of people that had to sign off on this. And as a player, you're never going to say, no, I don't want to play. Like you're not.
Of course you will.
So you can't just blame him. You can't just blame Arteta. You have to blame everybody. Blame the whole medical staff. You got to blame everybody at that point. They all screwed up. Because
at this point, I'm blaming the whole club. Yeah, Partey should not be making that decision. And in that sort of game, it's not like they make one lung-busting run. They make that every 5 minutes. There is a 100% chance that you're going to get injured. He could have come on as a sub or done something else. El Neni is not playing because he had COVID, which is not muscular. He didn't even have symptoms, and he's not playing for the last 2 weeks. And we're putting up with Xhaka, and we say that it's because this guy is not match fit. For how many weeks has Partey not played? And what was the justification to play him there?
So as I understand it, and Ryan's right, there were a lot. They didn't do all of the tests, but as I understand it, he wasn't rushed back. I think from what I gathered, the footballing side, Arteta and his guys were actually thinking of not playing him at all.
Yeah,
about benching him, but they were thinking that maybe it was too soon. But the player assured them that sometimes you get that thing where the player goes, "Look, I know my body, and I'm going to be good for this one." And he obviously convinced Mikel Arteta that he was fit to play, and he pushed for it. He understands what the fixture is. He knows what the North London derby is. He's aware of it, right? So there is one. It was a gamble. Obviously, Mikel Arteta should have had the final word on it, but the player may have won him round. And the one positive that I will take away from this is it's refreshing to have a player who's trying to convince the manager that he's fit enough to play, as opposed to constantly going in his office and saying his back hurts. That's what I'll take away from it. Yeah, that he was the one saying to the manager, I really want to play in this fixture. It was a gamble. Had it pulled off, we'd all be saying, we'd all be happy about it. And Rohan, maybe he could have started on the bench, and they could have eased him in. It was a gamble, and this is again part of Mikel Arteta's learning curve, right? Because he's never done this before.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm going to do right after this podcast? I'm going to email Mikel Arteta and tell him I'm fit to play, because he seems so gullible that he's going to play all of us.
Time out. You make it seem like Archie didn't train. He trained before the game.
He trained like 3 days. It
doesn't make sense. He could have trained one day.
All the reports said that he was going to be back after New Year's. All of a sudden, 2 days before the game, it said that he's fit now. Arteta tried to pull a Mourinho and it backfired. That's what happened.
Hang on. Whoa, Stan, go ahead.
I want to answer. Onib Ahmad said that Stan is absolutely deluded for coming to that conclusion. My conclusion is that I'm happy that a player really wanted to play instead of feigning injury. So that must tell me that you must be an Open fan, Onib, and that's fine. Welcome, but I don't see what's wrong with my conclusion. My conclusion is that I'm happy that Thomas Partey really wanted to play in that fixture instead of putting his feet up. But I did say as well that it was a gamble. It was a big gamble, and it didn't pay off.
Exactly, that's all it is. It's a gamble. It didn't pay off. It's not like he didn't train and we didn't see him in training, so we don't know what he's capable of or what he's not capable of. We'll just throw him in there. He obviously trained, and to me, especially back in the day, training sessions are harder than the actual game, and that's how they should be. That's how they should be now. I guess they're not, because he did his training session. He was fit to play, so he played, and then he got hurt. So
training sessions are harder in terms of they should push you. Because you're pushing, but you can't replicate game speed. You can't replicate the game. You know that. To get training,
when you train, you push your muscles a little bit more.
I get that, but you can't replicate the game. You guys, here's the funny thing about this. I actually, as strange as this is, I agree with all three of you.
I don't know how, but okay.
None of you are wrong here. You all make good points, and they're all right. Did he go through the proper channels with the physio staff and get cleared? Yeah. But did he lie to them? Yeah. Again, it goes back to the two things can be true at the same time. Boy, just take it to the head, man.
Yeah.
The thing is, and I think we're all smart enough in when it comes to professional sports. We know this, man. Most professional athletes are going to tell you they're the Black Knight from Monty Python. You got no bloody arms.
It's just
bleed on me. Tis a flesh wound. Tis a flesh wound. It's got no arms and no legs, but I can still go. Yeah, most professional athletes are going to do that. Bar the ones with the back problems and whatnot, and the cold, the occasional sniffles. They're allergic to cold weather. Those guys are out there. They exist. But he lied. You don't go from Monday morning, he's not going to play until the new year, to Thursday. Wait a minute, he might train tomorrow. He might be fit for the match. That doesn't happen. At the end of the day, here's what it is. He lied to the physio staff to get himself in the game.
How do you know he lied? No, I don't think he. No, I thought. Listen, yeah. Like Stan said, everyone thinks they know their own body. I just explained to you. I mean, take it. I'm not a professional athlete.
Here's the best argument for this.
Go.
When David Luiz cracked Raul Jimenez's skull,
okay,
they asked him. They probably said to David Luiz, "Who are you?" Or they probably said, "Where are you?" I'm in London. Who am I? Your coach. Who are you?
They said, "Where are you?" And he said, "Stamford Bridge."
Yeah. Where are you? I'm in London. Who am I? Your coach. Who are you? I'm Batman.
So do you know
that was David Luiz. It was like, hang on.
Okay.
So David Luiz, who literally is seeing this right now, it's all fuzzy, and can you still go? Yeah, man, I'm good.
How do you
put me back in? Get me my helmet, coach. And let's go.
All right, time out. So
he's back in the game. No, you think they didn't ask him?
Buddy, do you know why David Luiz missed the game, the Europa League game that Thursday? Did you Arsenal.com?
Wait, because he had a kid.
Before the Wolves game?
No. After the Wolves game, we had a game. He didn't travel. Do you know why he didn't travel?
Yeah, didn't he have a kid or something?
No. After the Wolves game.
I have no idea why did he travel?
Everyone talks about, he had a concussion. Why did we put him back out there? He doesn't have concussion. He never had concussion. The reason why he missed the game on Thursday was because something went wrong with his stitches, and he was still bleeding, and the stitches were not healing correctly. So they didn't play him for that reason. He wasn't. Oh, fine. No. If you don't want to believe that, then that's fine.
He didn't have concussion. He didn't have concussion. He had a moment of clarity, and he realized that he's not in Stamford Bridge. And he decided.
Well done, bro.
So then you have the whole entire Arsenal club lying for him. That's fine, fair, but don't say
they screwed up.
No, I don't. Well, I don't. Whatever, it's fine. I don't agree with that. But that's not the point I'm trying to make here. Partey, I shout out to Jessica in the chat. She said I don't like the word lie. You don't know. You don't. He didn't.
Yeah, I believe that he had the best intentions, but the fact of the matter is that in this situation, you should not trust a high octane player, but rather what medical science is and what is the established practice. You should follow that. And these players have let Arteta down. That's the reason why. Which is why I think to sort of bring this together, the reason why at least I am not Arteta out is because in both of these things he was let down by the players. Am I disappointed with Arteta? 100%, because he's the one who's chosen these players in the first place. And I hope that he doesn't make the same mistake again. But all of this was so foreseeable, including Aubameyang.
So, wait. My audio cut out there. All I heard was Aubameyang, and then I see Stan's face. Rowan, what did you just say?
I said including Aubameyang. All of these guys have gone to shit, right? And all of them need to have a kick down their backside. But that being said, let me also say that we had what?
Oh, really?
40 odd crosses in the box. Aubameyang has scored 75 goals for Arsenal, right? 3 of them have been headers. Why have we now become a crossing team? Why have we become a Stoke City with the long throws? When if this was supposed to happen, then we should have kept Giroud. Why did we get rid of Giroud? The plan is wrong.
Unbelievable.
And that's again where I blame Arteta. That this is not the style you can play with these guys. But that being said, the header, he should have buried it. He should have buried that header.
I would just like to point out to the chat that they all switched the topic off Partey and Luiz. So, according to Mike Hertz, I am right. So, carry on with the Aubameyang discussion.
Mike Hertz is your right man.
It's he's not getting any service. What's he supposed to do? He's not getting any service. No one's creating. Now we're creating for him. It's the wrong kind of creating. Can't we just say him, Lacazette, shit finishers at the moment. They can't finish a sentence.
They are.
So why are you giving them? Why are you making?
No. I'm not making excuses for him. I'm not making. No. This wasn't just for Aubameyang. This was for all of our forwards. None of them are good in the air right now. I mean, they aren't good in the air, period. Be it Aubameyang or be it Lacazette or be it anyone. They aren't good in the air. So that plan is wrong. That plan is wrong.
Move out of the way. Can you move out of the way? We're going to pass the ball to him.
I will tell you where it's wrong. Where he is lacking right now is there was a pass that was played through to him I think by Ceballos, which was, or was it by Lacazette? One of them played a very good pass to him, and he got one-on-one with the defender, with Alderweireld, I think. He was on Alderweireld's left, looking at goal. What he should have done at that point, and what Aubameyang, a confident Aubameyang would have done, was taken it to his right and curled it. Instead, he tried to take it on his left and shot, and he missed that shot.
Right.
And he's not having a moment. So
I've listened to what you've just said. You've just talked about an in-game moment regarding Aubameyang, and my rebuttal to that is that the man looked beaten when he walked onto the pitch before kickoff. I watched his body language when he walked out of the tunnel. He didn't want to be there. So you can talk about chances that he's missed, and it's not the right kind of service and this and that, and he's heading against a guy who's too tall. The man looked dejected when he walked onto the
then
pitch.
whose fault is it that he's picking?
I don't know.
It's his fault. It's his fault.
That he's getting
We're paying him over 300 grand to be there, Rohan. We're giving him over 300 grand to grace us with his presence, and he's walking out onto the pitch like he's got to sit through, I don't know, watching Titanic again for the 500th time. It's like, oh.
Hey, that's a great flick.
Okay.
No, I agree with that. So if he's not up
draw me
for
like
it,
one of your French girls.
Mike, draw me, please.
If he's not up for it, and he's not, whatever the issue is, if he's not up for it, then he needs to be benched. Simple as.
I'll tell you, we're going to do. Right, hold on a minute. You honestly think that we're going to put him for Eddie Nketiah? I mean, come on. It's not going to happen, is it? One of two things are going to happen. He's either going to have to struggle on playing through the middle, or he's going to get shoved back onto the left. And Mikel Arteta is going to use it as a reason to justify his deployment with him on the left, with what he was doing originally. But there is no way on God's green earth that they're going to drop him after just giving him that contract. They're not going to do it. As much as I think he should be, as much as I would love to see someone like Bellerin come in and be given a go, that's just pie in the sky. It will never happen. It's not going to happen.
The body language thing, and I want to shout out Corey Best. They were they brought this up earlier. We were on a different topic, but this is fantastic. It moved right into this. If you guys saw the video, the interview that he did that came out like Friday or Saturday, and he was basically like, it's time for us to kind of turn this thing around. And now I know there was nobody in the room with him. There was nobody sitting there. It was like a conference call kind of thing. Whoever was asking him the questions, it was basically done on a
I never even saw that. I just saw him walking out of the tunnel. So there's somebody interviewed him the day before the match, and it was all over Twitter, man. His body language in that interview, he was just like, and there's a camera there, and it's a bit like off the angle. It's not looking directly at him. So I will say, for him to sort of like turn and look directly at the camera would have been a little odd. But it was his body language there in this interview. Look it up. It's out there. He was just very like, so, like he was like this because he had he had a hat on.
It was sideways. His hat was sideways.
Right, yeah, it was just like
Jesus Christ.
His head was down. He was just real melancholy, like just real dejected about giving this interview. You like that? Now I'm a relief pitcher in Major League Baseball,
and that's our captain of our football club.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Let me, Rowan, hold your thought for me. Just let me get Stay Fresh's super chat in here, and thanks, Stay Fresh. Really appreciate this, man. Do we get the sense that we seem to be regressing players at this club? Isn't it a little deeper than that? How they are used? So, I mean, the problem here is, do you see the veteran players are? It's just almost uninterest. There's just no interest in the veteran players and the youth players who should be getting a shout here because nothing else is working. Yeah, bottom line, I will agree with Stay Fresh there. I think the veteran players are regressing, but I think they're regressing because they're just uninterested. I think they're just very comfortable at this club.
The only thing I can think of, if players have that kind of body language, pre-game in interviews, that's how they look when they're coming onto the pitch. And we're talking about senior players, the captain of the club. My only guess is that he's unhappy with what the manager's telling them to do. Usually in a situation when players have that kind of a body language, before they've even come on, their boots have touched a blade of grass, that tells me that there's problems going on behind the scenes. And if you remember at the beginning of the week, we all found out that there were clear the air talks. Clear the air talks where Mikel Arteta stood up in the clear the air talks and said, I know there's a leak in here as well, and we will investigate to find out who the leak is. And then that clear the air meeting, that was also leaked, which I found that quite amusing. That they're talking about leaking, and that got leaked as well. And I tweeted it out as well. I'm trying to think of a manager that's ever been in a situation where they've got to this stage where clear the air talks are being held, and I'm trying to think of a manager that's still been at that club 3 to 6 months later. Also, as well, if those were clear the air talks, where was the reaction in the game? Because that didn't look like a team that had sorted anything out. And the article said that they'd had a clear the air meeting with the management and Arteta, and then after they left, the team continued to have a second clear the air meeting amongst themselves. So what did they decide? What was the conclusion of this clear the air meeting? Because what I saw on Sunday didn't look like they'd sorted things out. And I was also alarmed at what Mikel Arteta said in his press conference afterwards about how the team played and done exactly what he wanted them to do.
Except score.
So he didn't say, he wasn't there admonishing them and saying that, they're not listening to me. This is what he's asking them to do. He also said that he saw a team full of passion and desire. And I'm sorry, for me, those were two of the key ingredients that many of our players on the day seem to be lacking. And I go back to Aubameyang coming onto the pitch looking like it was all over. So
yeah.
Something's going on.
Go ahead, Rowan. Go ahead.
Which is why I want to say that I'm not defending Aubameyang when I said that, why are you guys putting crosses in the box? The reason why I said it is because even if Aubameyang was banging in the goals and he was in the form of his life, I still wouldn't trust him to put headers in. I still wouldn't trust Lacazette to win headers in there.
Lacazette's 5 foot 7. Who's going to win a header against?
Exactly. So that being the reason, that being the case, and with the number of crosses that we are putting into the box, that's clearly being told to them, and that's what we are doing. What I have in my notes, and when I was watching this game, of course, Bellerin, we've talked about him. Partey, we've talked about him. Now I've talked about the crosses as well, right? A lot of people said that we didn't play that bad, and I was having a discussion with a friend who's a Chelsea fan, and we were watching the game together, right? And he was telling me about 15 minutes before the show started that Arsenal didn't play that bad. We had the possession, we dominated, and we just didn't have the killer touch or the final pass. But I'll tell you what it was. It was very deceptive. Arsenal were deceptive in that game. Arsenal did not play well. Spurs knew that we couldn't break them down. Spurs wanted us to have the ball. Spurs wanted to play in the counter. Spurs wanted the two players to link up. All of which was done by Spurs, and we got nothing out of that game. We got absolutely nothing. So we were naive, we were tactically clueless, and this is what is sort of concerning me about Arteta now, because he had shown that he had the tactical nous before the FA Cup and during the FA Cup run, but now over the last weeks, he's been outdone tactically every week by Aston Villa, by Leeds, by Wolves, now by these guys, by Leicester. 5 games on the trot, we've been outdone. He's been outdone by these managers, and that is what is concerning.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that, but I also want to say that it's tough because I'm gonna contradict myself. So I agree. I think we played into Tottenham's hands. I think they wanted us to have the ball. We had the ball, but I still, I don't know how to really word this. I still think we could have played worse. And that doesn't make sense, but I still thought I honestly thought in the second half Willian had one of besides the Fulham game, I thought Willian played the best half of football he's played for us. I thought he was really good. He was dangerous. They specifically brought on Ben Davies to man mark Willian. Like, you gotta stay Willian, do what you gotta do. And for a while, he was following Willian all over the pitch, and then Willian would back up. Ben Davies would just back up into the back line. And eventually, Willian got out, and I thought Willian had some good link-up play with Tierney and Saka. The thing I didn't like was they were all very, very close to each other. They played a very, people say it on Twitter, but a horseshoe-like attack or a formation. I won't even say attack because we didn't really have an attack. But I think that, but I think that, us playing with our hands, yeah, we did that, but I still didn't think we played that bad. We still had, in this game and in the game against Wolves, I think we doubled our final third passes, which were
just crosses from when there is no pressure.
Okay, fine. Would you rather have no final third passes? Listen, we suck. I've been saying this for months. We suck. We're not good. Deal with it. Take it for what it is. I'm doing baby steps. Baby steps. I'm going to take the final third passes. I don't care if they're headers to Lacazette. I don't care if they're headering the ball and Leno's running up the field and trying to score.
The final third passes, that stat is equivalent to Xhaka having 99% passing accuracy. That is what it equates to, or having 99 out of 100 successful passes. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything unless you actually have some meaning out of it. We didn't play that bad because Spurs were happy to shut up shop. They had done the business in the first half. They had nothing to play for. They had 2 touches in the box in the second half. Do you think this would have been the case if it was 0-0?
I don't know. The game wasn't 0-0. I can't say that. I don't know.
Sometimes I just think we maybe try to overcomplicate it. And I mean, fundamentally, right, the very basics are, right, in a game of football is keep the ball out of your net at your end. Try and get it as much as you can into the other end. And for whatever reason, we're unable to do both. And we're trying to find the reasons why. And I just think collectively as a club, from management down to player, they all have to shoulder the blame for this. They all have to shoulder the blame for this. Yeah. There's some questionable lineups. Some of the tactics have been very questionable. Some of the effort by players who should know better have been questionable. There's a lot of ingredients of why this is going wrong. And I don't think you can just lay it in one place and say it's because of that. I saw people today saying, and until we get the Cronkies out of this club, our problems will never be fixed. And I just cannot agree with that. Nope. Because although they may be absentee landlords, they've never let us go with the begging bowl. We've never had to go around cap in hand. We've had plenty of funds, I believe, since the Cronkies have been in charge. There is an argument, however, that the funds that we've had have been terribly spent. Terribly spent, disastrously spent. And that's another conversation.
Yeah,
but to try and find one specific place to say this is where it's going wrong, I think there's a lot of different elements. And I think that we're at the stage now where the only way out of this mess is to throw money at the problem. It's the only way out of this mess. And I think that the Cronkies have come around to that way of thinking. They made sure that funds were available for Partey. And there was an article that hasn't had hardly any discussion about the Cronkies talking with ESPN and saying that they're going to financially back Mikel Arteta for the next 18 months. So that's quite a few windows. And you could say that they've already started with the previous window. So I don't think that Mikel's going to go before the January window. They're going to give him some money. And then they're going to probably look at how he improves with what he's been able to bring in between now and the summer, and then they'll go again with some more money. That's what I think is going to happen. But I will say, and I will have it on record, that I still back Mikel Arteta, but I backed Unai Emery. I'll always back the Arsenal manager. I don't want us to go for a revolving door of manager after manager after manager, and then he comes in and tears up the blueprint from the last guy. Don't like that player, don't like that player, I want to buy this player, and we're always in a state of flux. So, of course, I'm Arteta in. Do I think that he is going to last, like, go the distance? I actually believe he's already dead man walking. I honestly believe that to have clear the air talks and it's come out and there's been no response, I just don't remember a manager that's ever survived that. Never remember a story about a manager having the team having cleared the air talks and the manager's been there 6 months later. And it's unfortunate because I have no idea where we go if we do get rid of Mikel Arteta. We kind of if we got rid of Mikel Arteta, we're kind of heading into like Alan Pardew territory, right?
Sam Allardyce.
Big Sam. Big Sam.
Pardew G.
The best guy, Big Sam.
And I see a lot of people have been saying, well, we just bench all of the senior players and we just field all of the kids. But as I said last week, you know, that could be really detrimental. We could break two teams. And if that doesn't work, what's the next option? We play the girls? Because they can score quite a few.
They're good. They can probably beat our guys right now.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, we don't really put any challenges in now as it is, so the women would just run roughshod over us. They wouldn't be worried about taking a tackle from a man at all. So with that in mind, nice little segue here, Stan. Thank you for that. You listen, man, you line them up, I'll knock them down as best I can. So I had a thought, and the thought was, at what point, and for everybody in the chat, answer this question for me. It's twofold. At what point, and Ryan, I'm going to start with you on this, but at what point, at what point were you Emery out? So go back, roughly a little over a year. So go back 13, 14 months or so. At what point were you Emery out? And with that in mind, again, that's assuming you were. Maybe you weren't. Like Stan just said, he wasn't Emery out. He backs the manager. Were you Emery out? When were you Emery out? And this is a far worse run of form at this point than what got Emery sacked. So if you are Arteta, if you're still Arteta in, then tell me what the difference is.
Take a drink first.
you know what that means. He's got to hydrate before he goes off on a tangent here. All right, fellas, this would be your opportunity to go get a drink because he's going to be going until an hour and 30 minutes. So,
it's funny. I'm going to kind of throw a wrench in your
hang on real quick because Thomas Morgan, boom, love it. That's fantastic. However, here's the only thing, Thomas. Here's the only thing. That's a bit of an insult for. That's a bit of an insult to our women's team, quite frankly.
Yeah. That is.
No, that's good, man. Go ahead, Ryan.
So I'm going to throw a little wrench in your question. I personally, I was never Emery in. I didn't like the appointment. I guess I in a way supported him because he managed my club, but I never fully, it was like the creepy uncle at Thanksgiving. I would never go near him, but he's family, so it's fine. It's whatever. But all
I'm thinking of is the drunk uncle Saturday Night Live skit on Weekend Update. And I can't remember who the actor is, but he comes in. He's like the drunk uncle at the holiday parties, and everything he says is politically incorrect. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So yes, I was never Emery in. I think they kind of brought him in just to win a Europa. And when he didn't do that, well, pack your bags, you're gone. But so I'm gonna kind of put a little analogy out there, just the way I see the club. Simply put, pretend Arsenal is a shoe. When Arteta left to rebuild the team, we had to untie the shoe and retie it. With Emery, he didn't fully untie the shoelace. He just nodded it a couple times, did like a, I'm not a Boy Scout, so I don't know the knot techniques, but I think it's what Emery did. He put a bunch of knots in it, and he was like, oh yeah, see, I didn't win a Europa, but I knotted this shoe up a little bit, so your shoe won't fall off. But no, that's not the case, and I think Emery, and I said this on multiple podcasts, and I'm probably gonna beat this drum until he probably gets sacked, and then I'll look like an idiot. But I don't think Mikel was brought in to necessarily. Well, I think he was brought in to untie the shoelace, but I think I don't think he was brought in to fix the project or build the project. I think Mikel Arteta is the project, and I don't think he's going anywhere unless he has a disastrous transfer window in the summer and nobody leaves, and Mikel pleads to extend Ozil, extend Xhaka. Then maybe we'll talk about that later. But I think Mikel Arteta is still trying to undo the knots that Emery left in this club, and I think as an American sports viewer and supporter of many teams, when you go through a rebuild, you have to completely untie the shoelace to tie it correctly and to win championships, to be a successful team. And I just think that Arteta needs to get these knots out and completely untie the shoelace and tie it back up. With that being said, I think a quick way of doing that would probably be just playing the kids and seeing what they're about, But again, I think with that comes the senior players fighting, a mutiny begins, and that's the problem. And people want to say, we're this big club, and like we're Arsenal, we're a top six club, we're part of the big six. If you're worried about your club, if you're worried about your squad mutinying, I don't know if I can pronounce that word, in the dressing room and all that, you're not a big club. This isn't Ozil FC. This isn't Aubameyang FC. This is Arsenal FC. If you guys want to fight, I'm sure there's fights here and there in big clubs around the world, but to have an actual mutiny, that's, I don't want to say it's not the Arsenal way, but that's just, nothing is going to get accomplished that way. And I think that Mikel needs to be given time. And it's funny because I know I'm kind of like going off on a tangent because I'm not talking about Emery, because Emery can go suck one. But I'm not I gun to my head, I'm Arteta in, but I wouldn't necessarily I'm Arteta in. I'm just not Arteta out. I don't trust the process. I don't like what he's doing. And yeah, you might want to get a drink. This is going to take a while. I'm going to lead this in because Jessica wanted me to say it. So
start wrapping up there, cowboy.
All right, you know what? I'll leave my little conspiracy theory till later on in the show. But yeah, I just think that Arteta needs to untie these shoelace, and these senior players are not doing a good job, and I think they're just not giving him a.
I like the analogy. That's good. I like that. Rowan, when were you Emery out? If you were, and yeah.
So Emery out exactly. I'll tell you which game I sort of was Emery out, in the sense that I didn't hate Emery. I just thought that we had to put him out of his misery. That is where we were at.
Old Yeller.
And I'll tell you exactly when I reached that conclusion. That was a year ago from last Saturday. I looked at the fixture list that we had. We played Brighton and we lost to Brighton 2-1. That was the game when he absolutely lost me, and I said that now, please, someone, he doesn't deserve to have this, right? Because now what has changed? We didn't lose too many games by then. We hardly lost any games. I mean, we started the season off well. We had 2 wins. We had that Burnley game, the Dani Ceballos game. We lost against Liverpool. And then there were a bunch of draws. We had a draw against Tottenham, against Watford, against Villa. We had the last-minute winner that Aubameyang scored with the free kick. Manchester United, that we should have. Yes, Manchester United, we should have won that game, and we drew 1-1. Bournemouth, we barely won. Vitoria we played, which was the game in which Pepe scored 2 free kicks, and Emery clearly looked like he didn't want Pepe to succeed because he just had that look, and he wasn't happy that Pepe won us that game. After that, Crystal Palace 2-2, Wolves 1-1, Leicester. Going into Leicester, I knew that we were going to lose, and we lost that game. It was like how it was this time with Spurs, where we went into the game knowing that we were going to lose, and it was the same result. It was 2-0 emphatic. We weren't even in it. Southampton 2-2, Norwich 2-2, who got relegated on 20th spot, and then Brighton 2-1. The issue with Emery was that this guy was too scared to lose. That was his problem. He just didn't want to lose. So the way we were playing, I just wasn't enjoying it. That was the primary reason why I wanted him to be out. But the reason why I came to that conclusion, and I haven't come to that conclusion yet with Arteta, is because his decline, Emery's decline, had already started about 8 games ago in the previous season. We were in prime position to finish in the Champions League, and he absolutely bottled it by picking a half squad against Crystal Palace, by throwing away games in that run-in when we needed just one more point. One more win would have got us through, and we didn't get that. And since then, he was just too scared. He had a transfer window in between. Whether he was backed or not is another question, but he couldn't get us out of that slump. That slump continued. For Arteta, what is the difference is this is his first slump. We'll see whether he can get out of this slump or not. And I'm going to give him until the end of December. The next 5 games are going to be vital for me to see whether he can get us out of this slump or not, because we've got 3 home games, and on paper, 4 winnable fixtures, but nothing is given right now. But that's the difference between Arteta and Emery for me, and why I still back Arteta versus why I was Emery out 1 year ago last Saturday. That was 5th of December 2019.
Stan, do you want to piggyback off anything you said previously?
Well, just another comment there in the chat box on Neeb again. I'm watching you, Neeb. He says, if Emery was better at communicating, he would probably still be here. And I just have to disagree. Yeah. You only have to look at Bielsa at Leeds. I mean, the guy can't speak a word of English. I mean, every time I speak to him after a match, he's got like a guy next to him that he whispers to. He's like, da, 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 da. And the bloke's like, yeah, well, he says that. And he's managing quite well. But I agree with Rohan. For me, I always back the manager. I always want to back the manager unless it's Jose Mourinho. If he came to the club, I just wouldn't be able to do it. But I agree with Rohan where it was a case of it's time to put this guy out of his misery. Do you know what I mean? Time to take him out back with the shotgun, just take one shell and just back of the head. Time to put the old boy out of his misery. And the point where I realised it had to be done, it was that Europa League game again with Pepe and the 2 free kicks. Was that Stanley Liège?
That was early. That was September.
Yeah, who was he playing? Stanley Liège?
No, Vitoria.
No, Vitoria.
I remember watching it when we were allowed to go and watch football back in the days when pubs would let us watch football in there. And it was pouring with rain. And after he kicked in the second one, they went to the bench and he was just slumped in his chair. He could barely chew his chewing gum, and he looked like a dead man walking. He didn't even, I remember thinking at the time, this has probably saved your bacon. This could have got you a few more games to try and persevere. And instead of getting up and pumping his fist and showing a little bit, he looked totally fucked. There's no other word for it. And I know my mum's watching, and she doesn't like me swearing, but that's the only word. He looked absolutely fucked.
Like your parents, or do it again.
Do you know? But I'm saying that's the only word that really. You know what I'm saying? It spent, nothing else. And I just thought to myself, this can't go on. This can't be good for them. This can't be good for him. Do you know what I mean? This cannot be good for him.
Yeah.
So I was Emery out basically. it really started after the Spurs. No, it actually started after the Watford match because we were up 2-0 and we, in the second half, just absolutely capitulated. Let them score 2 and we drew that. Spurs, kind of the same thing. We showed a little fight to actually get back in that one. But I was Emery out, and basically, yeah, it's put him out of his misery. This isn't working. The message isn't getting across for whatever reason, be it language barrier, and Stan, your point is well taken. Coaches in professional sports, the message gets stale. Sometimes you have a guy like Arsene Wenger who comes in and the message continues to resonate longer than average. But if you were to look at, and again, we are a North American show, so I'm going to bring up North American sports. But when you look at the NFL, might be the one rare exception. So, yes, everybody else does the same thing.
This is what you lose,
but I mean, coaches in North American sports just don't last long. The average, yeah, Ray Anderson's going to bail out on that one. But the average shelf life of a North American coach is what, Ryan? What would you say? 3 years? Take all four North American sports, average shelf life 3 years. You know, so they don't coach. The message gets stale. The players stop responding to hearing the same voice over and over and over and over again. Even if the message is the same, the voice changes, and they respond just to the different voice. But I was really Emery out after the Leicester match, and that was because there was an international break directly after it. And just like Rohan said, it was very much like Sunday. I had no expectation of that match. I fully expected us to lose. We did. And at that point, that's when I think he should have gone. He was fired after the Frankfurt Europa League match. So I have to correct you, Rohan, and Thomas Morgan agreed, but he was fired after the Frankfurt match. The Brighton match was Freddie Ljungberg's first match in charge.
No. Freddie Ljungberg's first match wasn't it against Everton? That was the Freddie's
first match in charge was Brighton.
I think he lost it after Emery lost it after
Frankfurt.
City, right?
Frankfurt.
He didn't.
Nope.
Okay,
Frankfurt.
after Frankfurt, yeah.
Brighton was
That's
Ljungberg.
when he lost me after Brighton. Brighton.
And it's neither here nor there because I mean he was done before that. But Freddie's first match was Brighton. Freddie's first match was Brighton, and then he went to West Ham the following Monday. I'm fairly confident in this because I was at both games. That's the only reason I'm saying that. But fairly certain Emery was sacked after the Frankfurt match which was the week before.
Okay.
So at any rate, I think the difference for me is to why. So to kind of wrap this up, and then we'll kind of start to put a little bow on this episode. Oh yeah, Lawrence is right. Freddie's first match was the Norwich match. That's right. Brighton was his second because Norwich was the weekend after Frankfurt, and then Thursday night was Brighton. Yeah, Lawrence, you're right. At any rate, I am Arteta in right now because I think Arteta needs a group of younger players. I think Arteta will be better with younger players who are moldable, who are more inclined just to buy in, generally speaking, other than these old dogs who are on the big wages. This is their retirement home now. So I'm still
pension, right?
What's that?
It's basically a pension.
Yeah,
it's a pension,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Welcome to our here's your slippers and your monochromed fluffy dressing gown. let me take you to your lounge.
Supper's at 5 p.m. So I'm Arteta in because I actually do think that he's a good coach. I think maybe he was given a little too much responsibility with the manager role.
Yeah.
I think he should have stayed as just the head coach. Look here, just this is what your goal. This is what your job is. And
that's why I think it's Project Arteta because they gave
them up. Yeah. You've been saying this for a while now, and you know what? I like the way that you put it. I think it is Project Arteta. And KSE. This is kind of where I'm going to go off on my little rant. I don't really get to do this much, but KSE. And again, exactly. North American sports owners. But when you look at their teams, and I said this last night on Not Another Arsenal podcast as well, the Rams, their NFL team, the Rams, they hire Les Snead, I believe in 2012, to be their GM. That's his first GM job. And he's young. I don't think I'm 42. I don't think Les Snead is much older than me. Then what do they do in how long's it been now? 2016, 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. They go out and they bring in this remarkable offensive mind. Dude is 32 years old, has guys on the team that are older than him, and he's coaching them, and his name's Sean McVay, and he does nothing but get them to the Super Bowl in his second season. Jared Bednar is the coach of their ice hockey team, the Colorado Avalanche, and this is his first top-level head coaching job. He was coaching their minor league affiliate, if you were, basically coaching in the championship or League One, if you will, for comparison's sake. And the Avalanche are going to be perennial Stanley Cup contenders for years to come. I don't know the coach's name with the Nuggets, which is their NBA team, but he's a young guy, and this is his first head coaching job as well. So they have a track record of appointing these head coaches and giving them time and giving them the tools, the backing, the resources to be successful. So
hang on a minute. He owns a team called the Nuggets.
Yep.
It's kind of funny when you say it like that.
It's like part of a breakfast cereal.
Stan, if anyone else says Nuggets, it's not going to be funny. But if you say, hang on a minute,
it's funny.
They own a team called the Nuggets.
It sounds weird.
I never thought of it until you said that. I'm like, yeah.
Even I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, their NBA team, the Nuggets, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. There's Stan, like chuckling like a little schoolgirl under his breath. But anyway, the bottom line. Ray.
All right, Ray. Okay.
Looks
like the wife and kids are in bed. All right, cool.
Yeah. Oh, let's go. Party time. So my point being, there's a history here and a fairly successful one. So when you look at their sports franchises, there's a big difference in the way that North American sports work versus the way this works, but there's a track record of success there. And I as far as the KSE argument goes, I'm over that. It's lazy, it's tired, it's played out. Stop this. First of all, they're not going anywhere, so you're just wasting your breath if you're constantly Kroenke out. He ain't going anywhere. He ain't selling. He makes too much money to sell this football club. It ain't happening. But I oddly trust Mikel Arteta when he gets his players in, and I think that's the biggest thing. I think he's still working on changing the culture within this club. And I think what you're seeing is the rot that started to set in at the end of the Wenger era. Nothing changed under Unai Emery, and it's still here now. A lot of this is we're going to get that turnover next summer. That's where I think the change, you'll really start to see a change when he's bringing in his players and establishing a culture with a majority of the players, because that's the other big thing. To Stan's point about the clear the air talks, you know what the clear the air talks were, Stan? It was Xhaka, Aubameyang, Willian, Lacazette, and whoever else you want to put in that category, looking at all the youngsters going, settle down, young men.
You're making us look bad.
This is our club. Stop trying so hard. Hector Bellerin is in that category. We didn't want Alexis Sanchez here because all he was worried about was winning.
Yeah. We got rid of him.
I'm paraphrasing. That's not exactly what he said verbatim, but there's your problem.
What really worries me, just I didn't mean to interject there, is that
I'm done because I'll go all night.
If a decision is made, let's say a decision is made, okay, we need to get rid of Mikel Arteta. What you need to realize is that who is at the club is going to appoint the next manager. That would fall into Edu's lap. Now,
and if you don't trust him,
again, is he experienced to make a decision like that to appoint and recommend to the owners the next manager of Arsenal Football Club? I just don't see that. I just don't buy into that. I don't think he's going to be able to make the right. Come on, it's going to be something like Steve Bruce, right? I mean, this does not bode well. And if the Cronkies are going to back Mikel Arteta, they're not going to get rid of him because they're about to, in a few weeks' time, probably give him some more cash.
Yes.
And there'll probably be more coming in the summer. So I think that, again, I kind of contradicted myself because there is a part of me that is worried about these clear the air talks and that there's been no response. But the problem that Mikel Arteta also has is he's having to pick players that players know that they're not part of the plans in the future. Mustafi, for example, he's already said, yeah, I'm going to be leaving on a free. You know, there are players that are being picked. Danny Ceballos, he ain't going to be here next season. Arsenal ain't going to buy him. And I don't think even if Arsenal wanted to buy him, I've always said since day one, from his first interview about coming to Arsenal, if you read between the lines, he's made it quite clear that we're a stepping stone. I've said it from day one.
He's using us to get his playing time.
So
Stan,
you said there was no response after the meeting. How do you think we played on Thursday? Obviously, I know we didn't play a tough team. I get that.
Different players, though, isn't it?
That's my point. That's my point.
It's a different.
Younger players responded. I don't want to like analyze every Europa League game because frankly I don't care. I know that was my job for the Arse Bros. Sorry, but Max, you never gave me the password to the SteamYard account. But anyways, I think they had their best game. I think the youngsters responded well. I think Pepe had a decent game, and I know we kind of just talked about it, but when you talked about how they had to clear the air meeting and no one ever escapes to clear the air meeting, but after the meeting when Arteta left, the players still had the meeting. I'm not saying you purposely left this out, but what wasn't said was all the players started finger pointing and blaming each other, and everyone started yelling at each other, and it was a circus, So
sounds like it made things worse, right?
It does. It does. But
it doesn't sound like there was any culpability, any resolve. No. It sounded like it ended on a bit of a bad note. And looking at the body language of this interview that I'm yet to see, and the body language of Aubameyang coming out onto the pitch, again, that would say to me that whatever wound was open during that meeting,
things didn't get resolved,
never closed or healed,
and that's fine with me because
like Louise's cut.
I agree. Yeah, I think so many players at this club more. So I'm not going to do this because it's going to take us forever. But if we went on the table and named all of the dead wood at Arsenal, we would name X amount of players. I think it's so much more. I think there's so many players that need to leave this club, and it's it's a poison chalice, and everyone's drinking out of it.
So here's my take on it. The club is rotten to the core, and it needs to. I don't know how it can be fixed because right from top management to very down, there's something wrong with the club. Right now, talking about KSE, I know that they aren't leaving, so there's no point. But what have their franchises won? They've not won anything. They play one tournament, all of them, like the Nuggets play in the NBA. They haven't won. They haven't won.
You started with the Nuggets, Rohan, just to get the reaction out of Stan.
I know. They haven't won it. The Rams played the most boring Super Bowl, in my opinion, that was ever played. They didn't win it. They didn't win it. Yeah, but you loved it because the Patriots won it. But the Rams didn't win it.
So jealous.
They didn't win it, right? So, and the Premier League, if they think that the Premier League is the same as American sports, that is where they've got everything wrong, right?
Well,
that is number one.
And I want to jump in here real quick because I think for a long time now, mind you, they just took over the entire club or all but, because I don't think it's actually done yet. But they were only, I think they were majority owners with Usmanov. But they just finally, 2 years ago, got him out of the picture so they can run the show themselves. But I think that is a big part of their problem is that they didn't quite know what they were getting themselves into. And yeah, it's professional sports and certain things line up, from sport to sport to sport. But the way that business is done in terms of personnel, player personnel in this sport is vastly different from anything on this continent.
Correct.
It's just completely different. And
Correct.
I think they maybe wanted to try to reinvent the wheel a little bit over there with trying to do things sort of the North American way. And they're finding they couldn't do that. And to Stan's point about the rumored money to be invested over the next 18 months, I think they may be starting to see that and starting to come around on, okay, you know what? This isn't the NFL where we can have a shit season, draft in the top 10 or the top 5, get one of the best college players, bring him in and completely change the dynamic of our club. And oh, by the way, you bring that player in on a contract that isn't anywhere close to your highest paid player, where in this sport, you have to go out and you have to pony up the money for a world-class player if that's the way you're going to go. So it's vastly different. I think they're starting to figure that out is my point. I hope they're starting to figure that out.
Yeah, because they better figure that out, because it's not the same. And if their track record is getting to the Super Bowl, their track record is also moving a club from its original place to somewhere else, right? Like that is also their track record. So, that's something to be worried about. But let's keep that aside. The next thing that was said was Arteta is a good coach, right? Like Arteta is a good coach, but he's not a good manager. That should itself ring alarm bells, because whatever his title is, he was a manager is per se responsible for the whole club and all the setup. The coach is responsible for the first team, but right now he's not even getting a reaction out of the first team, which is what is concerning, right? Because at the end of the day, he needs to get a reaction out of Aubameyang, out of some of the other players who are in that squad, because those guys, Aubameyang's just signed a new contract. There is no getting away from it, right? That is what we said. So he's got to get that in, and that's the way he has to proceed. What he said after the game, I used to like him for being very clear and saying things as they were. We won against Liverpool, and he came out last season and he said that although we matched them in terms of intensity, in terms of quality, we are far behind, right? Now he said after this game, dominance that we created was very good. Where was the dominance? I didn't see any dominance in that game. We were allowed to play. We held on to the ball, but that doesn't get us any points. Our points are still the same, right? So now what I'm thinking is, where do we go from here, right? Till when do we trust the process? Because even if we get in new players, he still needs to be able to motivate this. And Stan has said the right thing, that clear the air talks and not getting a reaction after clear the air talks is concerning. So how long will you guys give Arteta? For me, he's got this January, right? He's got 3 home games. He's got Burnley, Southampton, who are on a hell of a good form, and Chelsea at home, and he's got Everton and Brighton away. Brighton, the fearful Brighton, who did the double on us last season, right? Now, these guys, like, how many points do you think he's gonna get? How many points does he need to get to be safe? For me, I was having a word with Ray off the podcast, and I think he needs to get at least 9 points out of the next 5. Otherwise, there's no reaction, and he's dead. He's gone.
So let me real quick interject here with Stay Fresh is super chatting again. Thank you very much, man. Really appreciate it. Stan, respectfully, I believe his line choices are precisely what prevented a response. Maitland-Niles and Reese deserve to start. We are not fresh mentally. I agree. What's that, Stan?
I just say it's hard to disagree with that. I like what I saw. I've been critical of Ainsley Maitland-Niles because I've never really seen a lot of him, and it's always been playing in a position that I've always felt isn't his best position, whether it be right back or at left back. But seeing him playing in midfield, I really enjoyed what I saw. And I think that is something that we need to tap into a little bit more. I'd like to see more of that, please.
Yeah. So point total wise, this is actually a great point from Dave. He needs to, I'm not saying I agree with he needs till next Christmas, but the second part of this is very important. And I don't think it's quite half, but there are a lot of players that are leaving for free this summer.
Good riddance.
But yeah. And that's the thing too. I mean, David Luiz, Mustafi, he who shall not be named. Yes, I said Voldemort. I off the top of my head, I don't even know, but there are going to be a lot of players that leave this. Granted, Jaka might be gone this summer.
The issue is
he may get sold this summer.
Please.
You know, the issue is that this club is. The club has put him in this position. As much as you guys say that it's his decision to put our number 10 out of the squad, I feel that it is the club, and the club should have, if they knew that he was going to be out of the squad and what sort of impact he has, we should have moved heaven and earth to sell our number 10, but we didn't. You know, the club is itself the problem, and it's piling on problems onto Arteta. Arteta has got this problem that he doesn't know how to take us out of this slump. And the biggest thing that I blame Arteta is on a weekly basis, playing players who are just not good enough, right? Bellerin plays every week. Holding is now playing every week. Willian is playing every week. Granit Xhaka is playing every week. It's Arteta's decision to play these guys, and it's just not working out. And these guys will be the end of him.
That's quite frankly why I think he needs to go longer than January. I don't think you can sack him before the end. I don't think you can sack him before the beginning of next season, because I think there are going to be a lot of players that are going to be gone. And you say, okay, well, he's choosing these players. Why did he choose Granit? Because he was in a run there where the midfield was Partey and El Neni. And then the international break came, and El Neni was gone, and he caught the COVID, and he came back. He could international break, and he couldn't play, you know. And
he played.
You were working on something off the air, I think. So hold your thought there, because I'm gonna come back to this in a minute. But I honestly think it's the players. I really, if I have to lay the blame at the foot of the club, Arteta, or the players, I'm laying the bulk of the blame of this at the foot of the players. Because if you get picked, and I went off on this rant last week, I'm not even going to bother with it this week. You guys know my thoughts on these guys. You make too much money to not put in the effort. One of these players is going to, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is going to make more money in a fucking week, than I'm going to make in the next 4 fucking years. So you don't have the stones to go out there and play? Then don't play. Go get in your Lamborghini and drive. Go. I don't care. Drive it back to Gabon.
We are 15th. We are 15th. You can't tell me that we are the 15th worst squad in terms of personnel, right? We look devoid of ideas. We are going route one football. We started, now it looks like Stoke. We don't create chances on the floor. So we have Kieran Tierney like lobbing balls into the box. We have guys who play every week after having foul throw after foul throw. Our corner kicks hit the first man, or they clear everyone and goes out for a throw in, which we again have a foul throw on. That's the circle that Arsenal is in right now. And just saying that it's just the players, it has to be all of these guys.
That's why I said the majority of the blame, because I think they're all culpable. But if I had to pick one of the three entities to lay the majority of the blame, I'm laying it at the players, because they're the ones who, at the end of the day, need to be. Arteta can only do so much on the training pitch to motivate these guys. But you know what? If he has to go above and beyond to motivate you, then you just shouldn't be playing. The four of us and everybody in the chat box, and again, I can't say this enough. I'm a fat kid. I would run through a brick wall for that shirt. Not for Mikel Arteta. Not for any of those guys on the field. For that shirt, for that badge. I'd run through an armored tank division if I had to get out there. That's the kind of motivation that most of the guys in this club just don't have. Now, that being said, none of us, I don't think anyway, can relate to who they are and the money that they're making and what they actually do for a living. So and let me Akash Guha, thank you very much for that donation. My friend, ain't that great, my mate, playing in midfield. He is miles better than Xhaka. I assume you're talking about parts. It's either your mate or Niles.
He's not Miles. He's not Miles better. He's Niles better.
Oh!
But who's his mate? I'm just saying, he's from Canada. He says, my mate is playing in midfield. He's miles better. Who's his mate?
That's why I think
it's John Smith. Just his
Jonathan David.
No. He's talking about a friend of his. Is
he friends with Jonathan David, the Canadian footballer who plays for Genk? Because he's a good midfielder.
I thought he was a striker. He's a midfielder?
Yeah. Cam, striker.
Okay.
Second
anyway,
striker.
I keep going back.
I got it. Yeah. In the chat,
anyway.
gosh, I got the joke. See? We got the same mind.
Yeah.
We're good. He's Niles better. Yeah, guess what?
He's Niles.
I get it.
Okay.
I get it.
Like Ainsley.
I'm so slow tonight. I get it now.
All right. So
you love fun. Come on.
I kind of want to put my conspiracy hat on. Well, no, for me, it's not a conspiracy, but I kind of want. I've talked to Tanner about this, and we'll probably lose a lot of viewers. But I have an interesting. Yeah, honestly, you might think Bigfoot's real after I talk to you. I have an extremely interesting take on what's going on with Mikel and the team, and I talked to Tanner. I actually talked to Jessica too. This is gonna sound crazy, but just hear me out. Let me finish. I think Arteta's fucking up on purpose. I think his tactics are, because think about it. When you look at it, what are we doing? We're crossing the ball into what? Our average forward is 5'9". We're crossing the ball into who? Doesn't really make much sense. And Arteta coming into the club, he was doing very good. He was tactically outclassing a lot of the. Yeah, thanks, Mike. My cheetah-roo for days. But he was just tactically outclassing everybody. And now all of a sudden he's getting outclassed by Villa and all these others. But no, I don't buy it. I think he doesn't like these players. These players aren't showing anything for him, as these players haven't shown anything for Wenger, for Emery, and even to extent Freddie. I wouldn't really count Freddie because he was in charge for so few games. But I think Mikel is and everyone's like, no, you're crazy. You're not an Arsenal fan. Yeah, I know.
That's great.
I'm signaling the aliens. I'm signaling the aliens. I think Arteta is purposely putting us in a bad spot. I think he's purposely kind of showing the board and showing the upper management that this team's bad. I can't work with this team. I think he was, and again, going back to what I said, I think the project, Arteta was not brought into the project. He is the project. And I think they told Arteta that, and he knows, and he's going to the board, and he's like, listen, this team is bad. Did you see our last couple of games? Do you see what we can't score? We can't do this. We can't do that. I need new players. I need to be backed. And a couple of weeks ago, came out that they're going to back him for I think it was, yeah, exactly. I know, clickbait. Listen, I know. I come for the clicks. I swear. He comes in, and it comes in the reports that Kroenkes are going to back Arteta. Interesting. Okay, fine. And I think that because let's face it, this horseshoe tactic, it doesn't work. And Arteta was successful. In my opinion, he was successfully doing a really good job at Man City. Yes, I know he wasn't a manager. I know Pep was a manager. But there's videos. There's evidence. Thank you. There's evidence that suggests that Arteta
Leave him alone!
Leave him alone! There was evidence to suggest that Arteta was the mastermind behind that. Now, do I think he was the lone ranger? I don't believe that, but I think he was a crucial part in Man City's success. So I think I don't want to say he's purposely sabotaging us, but in a way he's telling the board, hey, these guys are no good. I need better players. These aren't my players. I want new players. And I think this is his way of kind of fast forwarding the transition, because I think there was one blip in Arteta's plan when he was hired as Arsenal manager, and that's COVID-19. And I think he had his thing set up. He knew what he was going to do. COVID-19 hit. Suspended the season. Money's kind of tight now. He kind of now has to kind of fast forward through his plan, through what he's trying to do. And in essence, no, I'm not. I fully believe this. You make fun of me all you want. I don't care. The shit takes I see out there about Ozil getting the armband and he's going to bring us back in the top 4. We need to bring Martinez back and sell Leno. I'm done with that. So
all right,
let me take the piss, okay? Let me do this. So I think Arteta is doing this, and I think with obviously if we're in the relegation battle, that's obviously I'm talking nonsense. Then then whatever, get rid of him. But I do think he's trying to push this club to sign better players, because our investment is terrible. And in the summer of this year, next year, I swear, stop.
That was really bad, by the way.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah,
I think
fast to join, bro.
No, I don't. I'll get heated about this because I do.
Hang on. All right, do me a favor.
I'm almost done. I'm almost done. In the summer of this window, we're going to see a dramatic change. And it's tough because we're so far low in the totem pole. I don't know if Arteta's going to last. Because like I said, if we are in the relegation battle, I don't think anything's going to really save him. But I do think that if we kind of pick up a little bit, do a few things, I do think that we're going to make the signings and do the business. Granted, that's going to lose a lot of players. I think that might lose Aubameyang. Good, I don't care. He's been shit all season. We might lose Lacazette. That's fine. And Rohan, I know you're a big Aubameyang fan. That's fine. He's not good enough. He's not good. He's not good enough this season. You really think he's good enough? That's fine.
All right. So hang on. All right. So what is the theory in summation? What is your conspiracy theory? You're saying that you think Arteta is purposely shitting the bed to show the board, to show KSE just how bad these guys are, so that hopefully they go through with the rumored investment. All right. So
I do.
So Stan, I see you shaking your head.
I'll just say 2 words why I disagree with that from Mikel Arteta's standpoint, and those 2 words are pride and ego.
But hang on,
Rowan. And we got to start.
And the fact that he doesn't own this club, he's sabotaging himself by doing that. And even if he were, then if I knew that he was doing that, then I would definitely not support him, because we don't support players who down tools on purpose. You're saying that he's putting us 15th in the table on purpose. Then he should be gone, because he needs to do the best. See, he can crib till the last day of the transfer window. From then on in, his job is to get us to up where as high as we can. The only thing that's high right now is you.
No. I'm not high. I said this to Tanner sober yesterday, so it doesn't impact. So time out.
He did. He was. Well, wait.
I had a beer. I had a beer.
I can't prove you were.
You can't prove it. Do you think this team? Time out. On paper, do you guys think this team is a relegation team?
All right. Hang on. Hold that thought real quick, because I want to bring Stay Fresh back in here and acknowledge his super chat for us again. Thank you very much, friend. I'm not Arteta out, but there are questions. We're 20th in the league in chances created. We, out of 92 teams in England, have the least amount of shots in the second. I'm not sure about what in the second half. I'm not sure.
In the second half. Is that what that means? Okay. Correct.
So. There are a lot of questions. Stay fresh. And if that stat is true, that we have the least amount of shots in the second half out of all 92 teams in the Football Association, that's a pretty damning stat. It really is. So, it's
if Emery's shot,
Go ahead, Rowan. Go ahead.
If the number of shots that we were conceding when Emery was around was a concern, then this is also a concern. Why we're still, all of the things that I have said today should at the end of it, the conclusion should be that Arteta needs to go. But I'm not there because I want him to succeed. He's done well in the first part. He's not had a summer in between his slump to fix the issue, unlike Emery. If he had a summer in between that, then I would have been, raging about Arteta as well. But he didn't. We ended the season on a high. We started fairly okay with the Community Shield, and now he's in a slump. He needs to get us back on track. For me, he's got December to prove the credentials that he can get the main players going, that he can get something out of the squad and try to add on to it. But if he's not going to be able to do that, I think he's going to be gone.
So I have a question.
I'm not going to put up with 15th. We can't be 15th.
I agree. But the question is, you guys all, and everyone in the chat that's making fun of me, you really think this horseshoe tactic is no, but seriously, do you guys really think us?
I'm laughing at Stan, by the way.
Do you really think this crossing tactic to Lacazette and Aubameyang is really going to work? Do you really think this horseshoe?
He's out of ideas right now.
No. Okay, hold on. We won the FA Cup. We beat Liverpool. We beat Man City. We beat Chelsea. All of a sudden, that's gone. We all of a sudden I don't know what I'm doing. Do you think all of a sudden Mikel Arteta has Alzheimer's and he all of a sudden has no idea what he's doing? No, come on, stop it.
Because that tactic got found out against Liverpool in the Premier League game when Trent marked him out of the game. That was the game when that tactic died. That tactic is the past now.
I have a question.
Tierney to Aubameyang on the counter attack. That thing is gone.
No, I'm not trolling One Deep. Thanks though. I appreciate the
Hey, Stan, do you feel like this is becoming the Ryan and Rowan show?
Stop. I have a question for all four of you. Do you think that this roster on paper should get relegated or could get relegated? Do you guys think that?
No.
I mean, on paper, no. We're better than relegation.
Yeah.
I mean,
we are better than 15th as well. And I don't know why we are having this conversation. When Jose Mourinho was in this sort of form, 6 months after he had won the league at Chelsea, he got the sack. Pochettino last season got the sack being in a better position than us after reaching the Champions League final, but we are okay to put up with this shit and come up with conspiracy theories as to why he deserves more time. I mean, the point should be that he needs to get us out of this slump. If he doesn't, then he needs to go. So how much time are you guys giving him on this current form? If we finish 15th in the table, are you giving us the summer?
Hang on. We're gonna. Here's the thing. We're gonna come back to this. But Stan, you wanted to say something, so go ahead, please.
I was going to say, here's a scenario for you, and do you remember I tweeted this out earlier in the week? We win the Europa League, and we get relegated into the Championship. We end up in the Champions League while we're in the Championship, and then we get to the final. Maybe we win the final, maybe we don't. But meanwhile, in the Championship, we lose out on the playoffs and miss out on promotion back into the Premier League. And I don't know where it came from. It just popped into my head one day when I was out for a walk. And I was like, I wonder if that's worth putting a fiver on, or what the odds would be. Because it's so Arsenal and it's so 2020, the way this year has been, it could happen.
It would be like in a horror movie, the killer coming back for one last lap.
Taking back that joint.
Take it back. Sorry, I'm doing a rhyme now.
It's so funny you guys make fun of me and everything like that. But
nobody's making fun of you, dude.
No, Rowan. I'm making fun of him.
Ryan, we're laughing with you, Ryan. We're laughing with you.
I'm laughing. But everyone freaks out when we lose. We're not a good team. I think people don't realize we're not good.
Let me hang on. Let me
understand the people in the chat. We're not a good team.
Let me take that and run with it real quick. Then we're going to come back to Rowan's question, and then we're going to wrap this up because it's 2 hours. I didn't think we'd go this long.
No.
So there was a tweet put out yesterday that I saw. I think I quote tweeted it, but basically at the end of the tweet, it was, this club does not have a divine right to be brilliant 100% of the time. And I think that's a big problem with this fan base is it's just entitled. And I've said this before, it's entitled. We're the Arsenal Football Club. So we should be sixth. We should be in the top six.
No.
Not if we're not playing like it. We shouldn't be. And you know what? And if we don't have the players to get there, then we just don't have the players to get there. So my point is, again, the key point is we do not have a divine right. So we're bad.
We have an entitled fan base.
We're bad. If you don't like it, jump ship and go support someone else. That's cool. If that's how you want to, if that's what you want to do, that's cool. Go support City.
I've been in too many podcasts now to go to another team. Now I've been exposed now. Like I can't go to another team.
Yeah. Oh,
I said that I've been in too.
Yeah. Listen, I can't go root for Crystal Palace now. All right. I just can't. I want to because I love Wilfried Zaha, but I can't go root for Crystal Palace. All right. You asked the question. How long does he get? Or what? So ask the question again, just because I want to make sure I answer it correctly. So ask the question again.
With the current slump in form, if this continues, how long are you going to give him? What is the lowest? If you were to say December, then one part is the next 5-6 games. How many points do you expect? We're playing Burnley, Southampton, Everton, Chelsea, Brighton. That's the 5 games, 3 home games out of that. How many do we expect? And what is the lowest that we'll accept in the league? We finished 8th last season. Would we accept 15th this time?
And Stan, go first. Nope.
He's gone.
Well, the next fixture, right? It's Sean Dyche here. The next fixture, obviously, we're going to play Arsenal. Is the next fixture play Arsenal? But, it's been tough. It's been tough at Burnley. So, if we go and play Arsenal, I don't quite get the result. I'm going to go and manage the Denver Nuggets. So, you've heard it here first. The next game is Arsenal. So I've just been practicing my Sean Dyche impression all day, and I just wanted to get that out there. So, what was the question?
All of a sudden, I was like, wait, where did he go?
Fear Danny Ceballos, Sean.
Yeah, so...
fear Danny, yeah.
Got to be a bit rougher on the voice. Ray's saying it's going to be a bit rougher on the voice, so I'm going to try and put it down a little bit more. But where do we go from here? I mean, we're in 15th place, and we've got all of these fixtures coming up now, quick and fast. It's that time of the year. It's actually my favourite time of the year. I love it when it comes quick and fast like this. And then before you know it, we're in a...
That's what my prom date said.
Say again?
I said, that's what my prom date said.
You went to prom.
And then before you know where you are... Before you know where we are, it's January, and we could have some new toys, right? We've got new toys, and we can get rid of some dead wood. So I'm going to be looking at kind of around about February to see what we're doing, because hopefully some of that dead wood would have gone in January. Hopefully, if they're not clinging on, see some of this dead wood. It doesn't mean if somebody comes in for them in January, they don't have to go. They could finish up the rest of the season on the high wages that they're on at Arsenal, knowing that they can then go for free and have more of a chance of going to their next club and getting comparatively the same high wages because no transfer fee was handed over. And that's my biggest fear, that we do seem to have players that are a little bit mercenary and think like that. But I'd like to think that by February, Mikel Arteta should be able to start imprinting his image and philosophy on this Arsenal team.
Ryan?
It's so funny. All the comments, saying, oh, we're not 15th. We're not a 15th place team. Yeah, I get that. I don't think we are either. But we're not good, and we have no divine right to be in that top 4. We have no divine right to be in the top 6. And I think there's a lot of entitled fans out there that think, just because we're Arsenal FC, we should be, fighting for the Champions League spots. But we're not good enough, and people need to realize that. And I think I'm not saying Arteta's trying to lose on purpose. I don't mean it that way, but I don't think Arteta is giving us the best way to succeed. I mean, any idiot can see that. Crossing the ball to Lacazette and Aubameyang. I would like to think Arteta is a little smarter than that. And I guess you guys don't think so. I guess everyone in the chat doesn't think so, which is fine. That's fair. Bar relegation, I think Arteta has to stay till the summer because I think the real work begins when all this deadwood leaves in the summer. And that's kind of a little bit of a wrench, because, when you go to American sports, and I hate bringing up American sports, but, when you bring up American sports, they go through a full rebuild, draft picks aside, you go through a full rebuild, you kind of sell all your older players, bring in some young talent that can maybe do you a job. But for Arsenal, the threat of being relegated it's a possibility. We're not good enough. I don't think thank you. I completely agree with Jessica. We're I would maybe say 8th or 9th, but tomato. So you guys, all the Arteta fans, you want to sack Arteta and get a new manager in. This manager is going to get us top 4. This manager is going to get us top 6. You're fucking nuts. I'm serious. You guys are crazy if you think that we sack Arteta now and we bring in a new manager, that, everything's going to be okay. We're not going to finish 15th. We're going to be in the top 4. We'll be fighting for a Champions League spot. We'll win Europa. Everything's going to be okay. No. We need to buy players. I hate to say it. You guys can laugh all you want. This is Project Arteta.
All right. So what's the end game here? How long?
There is no end game. Unless we get relegated, there is no end game. He is going to be here after the season.
No, you personally. How long would you? That's what Rowan. You're asking us personally, right? Not what we think. What we would do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get I wouldn't get.
Okay.
Unless we're getting relegated, we're not. I do not want to get rid of Arteta. We are going to buy players overseas, and players in the top 5 Europa leagues are going to buy into Arteta's plan. And I'm sure he's having discussions. There was talk when we signed Partey. There was talk when we signed, I think, Gabriel. Arteta personally sat down with these players and told them his game plan. You think some of these players don't know what he's doing? They know what he's doing. There's veteran players like the Aubameyangs, the Lacazettes, who are necessarily not in his plans. They're not buying in. The Xhakas, they're not buying in for a reason. They're not good enough. And they're not going to be here when the team starts getting good. And I'm sorry, Rohan, for your boy Aubameyang. He's not gonna be here when we start succeeding. His contract's probably just gonna run out. But
all right,
we need to bring in better players.
It's going to be just
when we win the Champions League 2 years later, right? Like that's.
We're not gonna. I don't believe that either. But that's
it's going to be just our luck that next season, come the summer, as we mentioned earlier, the Cronkies are looking at. They say they're going to back Mikel. And we do so bad this season that we're not in any form of Europe competition at all. We've got the money. Who are we going to buy? Who's going to come?
Yeah.
We've got the money in our pocket now. And we're not in Europe in any form. It's going to be so hard to attract, the right kind of players to get us to where we're going to want to be if that happens. And that's another thing that really worries me.
So my answer to the question is, he'd have to fall into the relegation zone. If he gets to 18 or worse, I'll put it this way. I'm not putting a time frame on it. I'm not going to look at it necessarily as, he's got to get this many points out of this many fixtures. If he falls into the relegation zone, if he falls into 18th, at that point, you say, okay, if the gap between 6th and whatever position we're in starts to open up more than what it is, if it starts to hemorrhage more than than where it is right now, maybe then you got to take a look. Maybe we're sitting 12th, but we're 13 points off 6th place. Maybe that's the answer.
If we end up in 18th place, it's going to be like, is Sam Allardyce there, please?
Yeah, yep. That's exactly what it'll be. That's exactly what it'll be.
As much as our players are so bad, weird things have happened. There's no way we're going to be flirting with relegation. I don't care how bad. I don't care how bad Aubameyang plays.
I think
200 quid and a quarter Nando's, and I'm sold. That's it.
I in the next 5, what'd you say? It's Burnley, Southampton, Everton.
Burnley at home, Southampton at home, Everton away, Chelsea at home, Brighton away.
We gotta win. We gotta win 3 of them. I don't think we're Chelsea at home.
Chelsea at home.
Chelsea at home, right?
Mm-hmm. So Everton and Brighton away.
We gotta get 10.
Yeah.
We gotta get 10. I can lose one of them, but we gotta get 10. We gotta win 3. We gotta at least draw 1, and we can. I could stomach a loss, but we have to get a decent run of form out of the next 5. I'm not saying if we don't get a decent run of form out of these next 5, we're going to be in the relegation zone. We're going to be. But I'm going to end everything here. No last thought tonight because we're way long. So I'm just going to wrap it up with one final thought of my own. We are 5 points off of 6th. We are 8 points off of 4th. We are 7 points off of 18th, which is the relegation zone. So we might be 15th, but look at both things. I'm looking at the points. How far are we from where we want to be? How far are we from where we don't want to be? So final word. Way to get it in.
For the kids.
Way to get it in. All right.
Easy. Way to get it in. Don't promote Chubby for the kids. But say way to get it in.
I want to say thank you to Gary for moderating the chat for us tonight. Thank you as always, man. Big part of the program for us. Ryan and his long-windedness, his Jim Beam Red Stag and all that. Yeah, good stuff tonight, guys. This was good. Rowan, thank you as always. Stan, pleasure. You guys know how I feel about you. Everybody in the chat box, you guys were great. Brilliant again tonight.
I love you, Peteroo.
There it is. Everybody watching on replay, if you've made it this far, we thank you guys all very much as well. I know most of the views to this show come from the replays because we check this stuff constantly. You guys, seriously, you have made this amazing. This is like I look at the numbers that watch this show, and I just can't believe that many people actually want to see this or tolerate this for 2 hours, an hour and a half at a time. My God. But big up yourselves. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week. I'm sure we'll chat to you guys on Twitter. As always, it's good footy talk. We'll see you out there.